So my best friend in the entire world is an Italian girl from New Jersey who would literally give me the shirt off her back if I needed it. She is an amazing, amazing human being. Her mom makes this spaghetti sauce. It's a red sauce, but you can manipulate it to be just about anything. That is amazing. When I was pregnant with Elijah, I was complaining about how I loved tomato sauce things, but ragu just wasn't doing it. And I got this box on my doorstep of dried ice, and when I opened it up, there were these frozen jars of sauce that I'm going to admit I did not share with the rest of my family. I hoarded that like it was gold. So I've been begging and begging and begging her to teach me how to make it. So we tried to do this about a month ago on a Zoom call that did not go so well as far as recording and editing went. So I'm taking everything that she taught me and I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to start with, let me tell you that I'm going to make enough to fill 12 jars and put them in my freezer because I can pop them out whenever I want them and have a great spaghetti sauce. So if you don't want to make this much, cut this in half or even in fourths, okay? I'm going to start with a cup of extra virgin olive oil. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oregano, 2 tablespoons of thyme, 2 tablespoons of parsley, and 2 tablespoons of basil. A teaspoon of crushed red pepper. The first time that I made this with her, she said I only used a half of a teaspoon because we didn't want to overwhelm my children's senses. I could not taste any spice in it at all. So I'm doubling what I did last time. But if you don't like it spicy or you don't like the flavor of red pepper, you don't have to use it. But I have a teaspoon of red pepper. And then I have 5 tablespoons of minced garlic. Okay. I'm going to stir this all together and then I'm going to leave it in the pot for about 30 minutes and let those spices really come out in the olive oil before we start adding our tomatoes and then cooking it at all. This is on no heat. This is just going to sit in the pot and let those spices marinate for 30 minutes and then we'll be back. So it's been 30 minutes. Now I'm going to turn my the heat on to about medium. I'm going to add 3 6-ounce cans of tomato paste. And then we're going to stir until it's thoroughly combined with all of our spices. And then we're going to wait for it to start to bubble up. And then we'll start adding the rest of our tomatoes. For our tomato products. Now Brie has this story about the magic spoon is what she calls it. And she got hers when she got married, and it's a wooden spoon that they use to make, she and her mother both have separate ones, but they use it to make the sauce. And that by the time Brie got married, her mother's spoon was a stick because she had used it so often. So I got my most well-seasoned spoon, and now it is my, this is spaghetti spoon, or this is sauce day spoon. All right, so our tomato paste is thoroughly incorporated. We're gonna wait for it to bubble up just a little, and then we'll add our diced tomatoes. I have 7 cans of 14.5 ounces. So it's a little over 102 ounces because I also have the same amount of tomato puree and crushed tomatoes. So, all right, so I'm gonna start adding my crushed tomatoes. A little bit at a time. We're gonna stir this together. And these are, I misspoke, these are not crushed tomatoes, these are diced tomatoes. Sorry. Now we're going to add our tomato puree, which is right here. And I learned the last time that I have to go real slow because it splatters back up at you. I splattered it into my face. You all missed my glasses covered in tomato. It was fun. Stir that together. And then I'm going to add my pureed tomatoes, or crushed tomatoes, I'm sorry. These are both 102 ounce cans. So you basically need equal parts of puree, crushed, and diced tomatoes. I'm going to stir all this together. And then it's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes for it to fully heat all the way through, and then we'll add our wine and our salt and pepper. Okay, so our sauce is just warm to the touch. Now it's time to add red wine. So we had a long discussion about red wine, and Bree said, just buy whatever you drink. Well, the problem is I don't drink red wine. So I had to make her be much more specific. So I've got a Pinot Noir. Now, I'm going to use the whole bottle because I wouldn't drink it. So there's no point in letting it go bad in our house. And it needs it for this much sauce. If you're not going to make this much, you only need about half a bottle. And then I'm going to stir this together. And she always says that making sauce is an all-day affair. And she's not wrong. Because we're going to add some salt and pepper. I have a teaspoon of each. We're going to stir that in, and then we're going to let it sit on medium-high heat for the next 4 hours. I'll come in every 30 minutes or so and stir it around just to make sure that, you know, it doesn't get stuck to the bottom and burnt. But other than that, we let all those flavors marinate together to make the sauce. So a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of black pepper. And this is the only time I can get away with putting black pepper in my kids' food because it sits for so long in this sauce that they never realize it's in there. It dissolves. Okay. And there we are. We're gonna let this sit for the next 4 hours. So at the very beginning of this episode, I should have added 6 bay leaves, and I am so sorry, but those should have been in the olive oil in the very beginning. I messed up, but I'm gonna put them in now. You guys put them in at the beginning. I'm gonna stir these in, and then we'll leave the pot for the next 4 hours. So our sauce has been on simmer for the last 4 hours and I keep coming in and stirring it. Now all I have to do is let it cool to about room temperature, which will take a couple hours, and then I will put it into jars and put it in the freezer. And in the freezer, it'll last for about 6 months to a year.